Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE Elimination Chamber 2019 preview and predictions. We have got a grand total of 7 matches, one of which will be on the kickoff. The other 6 are on the main show that we will be predicting today. And you know what, John, before we even get into any predictions, the kickoff match is the Cruiserweight Championship on the line. Buddy Murphy, Akira Tozawa. Will we be live reacting to that match?
Personally, partner, I think that's a match worth skipping.
So, I agree with you. I agree. I was going to ask. I was hoping that you would have said that as well. So we're on the same page.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Like I told you, we're already covering like a lot of main stuff. Any stuff that we can avoid, it's always best to. And yeah, that's definitely worth avoiding. I guess we'll talk about that briefly when we get formally into predictions. But yeah, we will be skipping that as far as reacting goes.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be live reacting to the entire main card starting at 7 p.m. on Sunday. But backing up to where we are now, let's get into this. How are you feeling as far as hype levels, brother?
You know what, man? I'm gonna be putting a lot of qualifiers in this commentary. I'm gonna get that warning out of the way fast. I'm gonna do things a little bit differently this time. I will say, for what I'm projecting Mania to be as like my fantasy speculations, my hype for this is actually like an 8.5 out of 10. However, keeping that more grounded and thinking about what WWE might do, which I'm not even fully sure what they might do in some areas, I will readily admit that, I'm actually going to keep my hype a bit more low-key. I'm going to keep it at a solid 7 out of 10 for this show right now.
That's exactly where I landed. I was really like... 6.5, but the chamber matches themselves are enough to get me up to a 7. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you wholeheartedly on the 7.
All right, dude, let's dive into this because I have so much I want to run by you. There's gonna be a lot of fantasy talk on my end, which I will distinguish from real talk, if we can call it that. But I am excited to unpack this show with you, so let's do it.
All right, well, once we get into it, let's talk about Buddy Murphy versus Akira Tozawa. Are we both predicting Buddy Murphy to retain here?
Oh, absolutely. Buddy Murphy has been a great representative for 205 Live as the Cruiserweight champion. I'm starting to wonder, though, if that belt might be becoming a pair of cement shoes for him, because I would love to see him on Raw or Smackdown tearing it up with people. I mean, if what Mustafa Ali's doing is any indication, and unfortunately that might be slowing down given his issues, Buddy Murphy, to me, is a juggernaut. He's got the look to just kill for. This guy could be in main event matches on SmackDown. He could really be a player, but you know, right now he's good where he is. Let me just ask you this again. Already kind of getting into the fantasy discussion. Already kind of envisioning Mania because I know there's Fastlane in between this. Are we thinking that it might be Tony Nese versus Buddy Murphy at Mania? Because Tozawa just seems like such a random opponent here that I wonder if they're holding back for something big for Murphy at Mania. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I'm going to be completely upfront with you, John. I have not watched an episode of 205 Live since we last reacted to it, so I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm right there with you. I'm just saying that, like, I know
you're right there with me, but you at least have kept in touch enough to know that Tony Nese might be a potential contender. I had no clue he was even in the conversation.
Yeah, I just feel like I think he's in a feud currently with Noam Dar, so maybe Dar will be the one. I don't know. I just feel like Tozawa kind of came out of nowhere, but he did beat Hideo Itami in Itami's last match on 205 Live, and maybe that's kind of the story here. Regardless, Buddy Murphy's the man to beat. I don't really see him slowing down. I think this should be an easy win for the champion.
Truthfully, I think I kind of tuned out as far as 205 Live goes when the realization hit me that my boy Lio Rush was not going to be considered a world title contender.
Right. Yeah.
Like, to me, they debuted Lio Rush. He had a few great matches, and then all of a sudden it's like they kept pushing him to the back for someone else, and they basically... I think that they had him in a match with Cedric when Cedric was champion and had him lose that or something like that. But they've never really done anything to make Leo feel like a world title or a cruiserweight championship contender. And that's like, it just feels like the same 4 or 5 guys contending for that championship constantly. And I have no interest in that.
That's fair enough to me, dude. So I've said all I can say about the cruiserweight title. Unless you have anything else you want to say, we can move on to the main card.
All right, then let's move on. Up next, we get to our first and easily the least important match on the main card, Braun Strowman versus Baron. No DQ, but, I mean, really, who gives a shit, right? Like, Braun's winning, right?
I mean, honestly, dude, I'm going to be...
I could see them giving the win to Corbin, but I just don't care enough to pick contrary.
Yeah, honestly, dude, it's not that I care either. Just because you qualified that, I want to make sure that I'm not putting myself in that category. But just thinking about this, no DQ, you'd think Strowman would just decimate, but McIntyre is nowhere on this card, which is a fucking crock, I might add.
Oh, right. So of course they're gonna do. Yeah, you're right. They're gonna do fucking. McIntyre is gonna help Corbin win, but then we're gonna get McIntyre versus Strowman on Fastlane.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick Corbin here due to McIntyre interference. I think the no DQ stipulation is meant to protect Braun because he's going to have to deal with 2-on-1 odds, and especially when one of the people is the Mountain Drew McIntyre. So Baron Corbin for the win.
Oh, man. All right. Up next, and by the way, I did switch my pick there. I am going with Corbin as well with you. So next, we've got our second match of the night, Bobby Lashley versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush versus Finn Balor in a handicap match for the Intercontinental Championship. I'll take the reins on this. I think that Finn Balor is going to win by pinning Lio Rush, and then Lashley is not going to have a quote-unquote rematch clause because those aren't a thing anymore on the main roster, but he will have the complaint that, oh, Finn Balor never pinned me. I should get a rematch to try and get my title back, and we'll get a one-on-one match between them at Fastlane.
You know what, brother? When you pitched this to me originally, of course, over Rocket League, I actually thought it was ingenious. I think it's a way to get mileage out of the feud without it being one and done. I don't know what this means at Mania unless, and I'm just putting this possibility out there, I'm not saying it's going to happen, Lashley would regain at Fastlane. The rubber match, quote unquote, would be at Mania, and then Balor kind of gets a Mania moment as a babyface winning a championship, which would kind of be poetic given that he was in a triple threat Intercontinental title match at Mania last year, and now he's in it again, but it's one-on-one, and he gets his definitive Intercontinental title reign to begin the new wrestling season for WWE. So I personally like that. I don't know if that's the route they're going to go, but in the meantime, for Chamber, I actually agree with your logic, and I'm going to co-sign on with you here. Balor is going to win this by pinning Lashley, which still keeps the Balor story intact of, you know, is he a giant killer or do giants kill him? Because he took on the smaller guy and he won. But when it's just Lashley, you know, does Balor have the goods? So I think it makes all the sense in the world. I'm co-signing with you.
Awesome. Nice. So Balor is your new Intercontinental Champion. He'll defend it against Lashley, most likely next month at Fastlane. And where we go from there, I'm not sure. John, I know you are under the impression that the WWE wants to do Nia Jax versus Dean Ambrose in a random, pointless, meaningless one-on-one match at WrestleMania as like a way to be like, oh yeah, Dean Ambrose went out on his back with a woman pinning him, and like really like WWE in Vince's mind, of course, trying to humiliate him because he's not sticking around. But I think that we're going to get Nia versus Finn because of this whole like, oh, Finn, you're not big enough thing. And truthfully, I wouldn't even be shocked if they gave Nia the Intercontinental title.
Which, you know what? No, I would totally go into it. I'm just going to keep it plain. It would suck for Finn and his fans because I know the kind of fan base he has. And Nia, that woman shouldn't be anywhere near a championship. And it's not because, oh, the intergender thing. You and I both have done, we've covered Lucha Underground wall to wall. We're the definitive Lucha Underground channel. We've seen women win championships in intergender situations, and we've been cool with it because they're talented. This is not that case. That she is fucking dangerous, shouldn't be anywhere near that championship, but I wouldn't put it past them. You know, I think the IC title is kind of an open field. They could very straightforwardly, again, do Balor Lashley. You know, Lashley regains at Fastlane, and then we settle it once and for all at Mania. Or we could shake it up, have Nia, you know, challenge for the IC title. Or, hell, you could do both. You could have Balor beat fucking Lashley. You could have Nia beat Dean, and then one of the first feuds that Finn has would be with Nia because I did the biggest thing at WrestleMania. I beat Dean Ambrose, a former world champion and Shield member. I want the Intercontinental title. I could see them doing both. So it remains to be seen. It's a big open book, which again, on a fantasy perspective, they could do a lot of cool stuff here, which kind of ups my hype, but I'm trying to stay grounded. And staying grounded, I think, again, your proposal was logical enough. So I welcome our new overlord and Intercontinental champion, Finn Balor. Long may he reign.
Yeah, and by the way, I will say that I'm kind of using my little WrestleMania projections to kind of design a narrative on this card that will affect other predictions. So Nia Jax being in an Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania will play into a prediction of mine later on. So just want to plant that seed to make sure everyone was aware. Up next, though, we do have Shane McMahon and The Miz versus the Usos. Now, I want you to go first with this, John, because I actually have something to say about this. So go ahead.
Okay, but I'm actually glad you gave me the floor because, I have something to say, too, as far as, like, what I've projected. And just to kind of answer Foster, I know you think we're overthinking this, but again, I'm making distinctions between what I think will happen and just fantasy booking. Now, fantasy booking for this is very straightforward. I would have Usos win here, retain at Fastlane, and then at Mania, they face the babyface team of Rey Mysterio and Andrade Cien Almas, because he'll always be Andrade Cien Almas to me, for the SmackDown tag titles in a fucking barn burner. Now, reality, I still think the first step will be taken. The Usos will win. And, oh yeah, another part of my fantasy there, if Usos won here, I think we'd see tension between McMiz, but I wouldn't have the Miz turn on Shane until Fastlane. I'm hoping that happens, but I'm not going to go that far yet. I think that's still too much fantasy booking. So I'll just keep it to Usos winning the tag titles, and we'll go from there. So I don't think anything's changed. I know, big elephant in the room, the recent arrest, but I don't think that's going to shake up long-term plans. That's at least my feeling. I've done this before where something comes out and I'm like, oh, clearly it must change. To me, that's overthinking it. So I'm still going with Usos winning the tag titles. Now, Ashton.
Dude, yeah, it's so funny. We have such a similar thought process. I wanted you to go first because I had something to say, and then you said practically exactly what I wanted to say. So my thought process here, as I do believe that the Usos are going to win, which I thought was going to be a big surprise to everyone, and then you beat me to it. But yeah, I am expecting the Usos to win, not because like, oh, Vince is going to reward Jimmy Uso for having the balls to square up with a police officer. No, it's because I'm pretty sure that that was always the plan. And frankly, they could have the Usos drop the titles literally this coming week on SmackDown to punish them for Jimmy Uso getting into a fight with a cop. But the greater narrative isn't even about the Usos. It's about Shane and Miz, and I expect them to break up, whether it's immediately after losing the titles or after losing their rematch for the championships. I do think that the greater narrative is about the two of them, and I agree with you now. As much as I hate it because I wish they would give the Miz something better to do, I agree with you now that they are probably going to do Shane versus the Miz at WrestleMania.
Yeah, dude, I hate it as well because the work that the Miz has been doing for the last few years, he honestly should be, if it's not going to be for the person that I'm projecting in my fantasy realm, it really should be Miz to beat Bryan for the title at Mania. And I'm not even kidding about that. I'm saying that
it really like he would make the most narrative sense. Yeah.
But since that's not going to happen. Now, see, here is where they could make it interesting, though. And here's where I actually hope you're right, since we're kind of doing like a mutual admiration society thing. I hope they take your spin on my idea and they do Shane as the heel instead of Miz. Because I have Miz being the heel because he gets really possessive with the Best in the World trophy. And Shane, you dropped the ball with the tag titles and you don't deserve that trophy. I did more of the work anyway. Therefore, I have more ownership, all that stuff. A McMahon being a heel, I mean, name a more iconic duo. I really love that idea. I think babyface Miz at this stage of his career is territory that we should explore, and we should explore with confidence. And I think doing it with confidence means giving him a heel McMahon to work with as kind of that stamp of approval. So I hope you're right on that end. If they do what I'm thinking and it's just the standard, Miz gets really possessive, jealous, whatever trait you want to ascribe to him, turns on Shane, beats him down, he's the heel. It's not that it won't be bad because of who's involved, and I think Miz could sell me chicken shit, but I think you could do something far more special if Miz is the one I'm supposed to be sympathizing with. So those are just my thoughts, kind of, piggybacking off of your idea. But we both agree, keeping it grounded, that Usos are going to win the tag titles as the first step. So we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll also add that I don't really necessarily know, like, I'm not going to commit fully to the idea of Shane being the heel in that feud, just because, like, I know that you're talking about, like, oh, McMahon's and being a great heel, name a more iconic duo and stuff like that. But, like, Shane has almost always been the exception to that rule. Like, I get that he's been a heel before, but he hasn't been a heel at all since his return in like 2015 or whenever it was, 2016.
Right.
And like, I really don't think that the WWE is even going to attempt to make him a heel because they had an opportunity to try it at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, and they completely decided against it. And there were even rumors that they were going to go through with it and make or no, not even. That was towards the end of 2017. Now that I think about it, that they were talking of, like, there were dirt sheets reporting like the WWE wants to make Shane McMahon a heel and have him go on a run. But if you look at his last 3 WrestleMania matches, though, he's faced The Undertaker, AJ Styles, and tagged with Daniel Bryan in his first match back from injury. Like, Shane McMahon's WrestleMania match is treated as like the next biggest thing behind The Undertaker's WrestleMania match these days. And really, I think as of 2018, you could argue that Shane McMahon's WrestleMania match has surpassed The Undertaker's WrestleMania match as far as WWE's perception of credibility goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only silver lining to me, is that if Miz gets the Shane matchup, even if he has to go back to being a heel to do it, maybe 2019 would finally be Miz's year to regain the world title. Because I just feel like what's left for him to do on that brand, unless, and dude, here's my biggest fear after Miz just going back to being a heel, which that's not so much a fear so much as a, okay, you know, and just, you know, we get used to the territory. I really don't want Miz to be shaken up to Raw.
Like, no, dude, you know what, though? Here's another thing that I just realized. Everybody who has faced Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, other than The Undertaker, and really what I should specify is the important pieces that have been involved in Shane McMahon matches at WrestleMania have become world champions within the calendar year.
Yeah, that's why I said yeah. No, I think that's a great sign for him.
2017, we had Shane versus AJ. AJ won the world title very quickly after that.
Right.
2018, we had Shane teaming up with Bryan. Look where Bryan's at now. Like, if the WWE sees you as worthy of a Shane McMahon WrestleMania match, you're probably winning a world title within the next year. And that's like the ultimate stamp of approval. And that's kind of like the only thing that I can really justify to myself being cool with the Miz facing Shane at Mania. Because
I'm the same way.
Not necessarily a match that I'm looking forward to in the moment, but it means so much more for the future for the Miz, because it's like the WWE acknowledging how great his work's been.
Right. So I like that at least at the end of this whole thing, you and I can see the forest for the trees, even if the trees are a real pain in the ass to get there.
Yeah.
So Usos to win for tag title reign number 6, if I remember their promo correctly. So wow, good for Usos. And yeah.
All right. Up next, let's get to the Raw Women's Championship match: Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. You know, I hate that I'm even saying this, but this is a pretty cut and dry case, guys. Ronda's winning.
I mean, again, fantasy realm, just to make that distinction, I don't give a fuck. They're already blowing up the main event that should have been one-on-one with Becky and Ronda anyway, by making it a triple threat. I'd have fucking Ruby win, make it a fatal 4-way at fucking WrestleMania. Hell, at the very least, even if you wanted to keep the triple threat, have Ruby shock the world, and then Ronda gets it quickly back at Fastlane. I just would love to see Ruby get vindicated for being that kind of legitimizer, that kind of undercard performer that really shines. Dude, she got Natalya fucking over. Like,
yep.
Jesus Christ.
That's kind of, you know what, though? That's kind of been Ruby Riott's role her entire WWE career, even going back to NXT. She's always been this like heel legitimizer who manages to get babyface opponents more beloved after their feud is over than they were before. Like, that's just been what she does their entire WWE run. And if I had to guess, I wasn't really keeping up with Heidi Lovelace on the indies, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did the same thing then too. That's just what she does. She's amazing at it.
I mean, brother, here's the thing. I tweeted about Ruby recently, and I'm going to have to scroll too far down, but what is essentially what I said, I was going to try and find the tweet, but I said that to me, Ruby's probably going to go down as kind of the Christian of the women's division, like great in-ring worker, to me a solid personality, because I actually do think she's a genuinely good promo, especially in the backstage stuff, but she's never going to be a top woman. That sure as hell was the case with fucking Ronda Rousey around. So my fantasy booking, would have Ruby getting the huge fucking upset because everybody's looking past her. It was like when the Undisputed title was created and everybody seemed to be overlooking Jericho and assuming that we'd get Rock and Austin in the final matchup. And Jericho was the first champion, and they overlooked him his entire reign until he, of course, lost it at Mania. Like, I feel like so many people are overlooking Ruby, but that isn't the story, unfortunately. The story is about, preserving this women's main event, which really it just glomps Ruby and just encompasses her and stuff like that and overwhelms her. So yeah, keeping it grounded, Ronda Rousey for the win. I can only hope though that Ruby Riott has a great match with Ronda, because I want Ruby to just keep showing everybody that she's one of the more underrated performers, I think, in that locker room. I think a lot of people take her for granted because I know a lot of people talk about like the Sashas and stuff like that. I don't know if Ruby gets as much love as she should. That's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, I would argue that Ruby is the second best female performer on Raw behind Sasha.
Yeah, and
the only reason that I would put her above Ember, who I do think is better than Ruby in the ring, is because of promos, because Ruby blows Ember out of the water on promos. So even if Ember is a little better than Ruby in the ring, the difference is a lot less in ring than it is as far as Ruby just owning her in promos.
Absolutely, yeah. I completely agree with you there. Again, I would dude, if Ruby would win the fucking title here, that alone I think would make our Elimination Chamber live reactions, because I adore this woman. I think she is amazing. It's Ronda's cloud, and it hovers over everything good and decent.
And we've predicted that shit for long before Ronda even officially signed.
No, anytime a big name comes up, this shit always happens, you know? And it's like, I hate to say it, but you just mentioned Ember, right? And she's got to go, and she got surgery, and now she's healing. If there was ever a time to get injured for the women, now's the time.
Didn't Alexa injure her, or was it something?
Yes, it was Alexa that injured her with like that flipping like knees to her arm, like direct right on there. But like, if there was ever a time to get injured, take that time off. Now's the fucking time, because you were never going to get the nod. Not while Ronda exists.
Yeah, you might as well, man. Just take your time off. Maybe take a few vacation weeks. Just kind of bide your time, because when Ronda leaves, that's when will be the time to strike.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Venegas said it perfectly. Great to see you, Chris. Ruby will be the bridesmaid, but never the bride. And I think as long as she's on Raw, that's true. I was even going to say, I could see her winning the SmackDown Women's title if she gets transferred.
Honestly,
dude, I hope the Riott Squad gets shaken up back to SmackDown. Fuck. If Asuka's
I don't even know if the entire, you know what I wouldn't be surprised by? It would be if they would be like Ruby Riott by herself to SmackDown and keep Liv and Sarah on Raw.
Part of me would be tentative about that, but again, you just thinking WWE logic, that is totally within WWE logic, but I will say this.
Well, and they could totally use Liv and Sarah as a babyface team, too, if they didn't have Ruby kind of hovering over
like in their ear, yeah, kind of being.
Yeah, because especially Liv is so likable. And Sarah,
definitely.
To like too, if she just kind of was allowed to be her goofy self around Liv's like glowing presence.
Guys, you should follow Ashton on Twitter for no other reason to see his tweets fantasy booking Liv Morgan as like in this title contender for the win. It was so well done. And yeah, like no, Liv definitely has an upside. I will say, dude, is that shakeup worth? I'm salivating thinking about it. A Ruby Riott Asuka feud for the title.
Excuse me, yeah. I like Asuka and all, but I was more excited about Ruby Kyrie.
Yes. Oh my god, from building birdhouses to fighting each other.
Yes.
No, dude, and see, like that's the thing.
Well, and dude, the groundwork was laid in the Royal Rumble, because remember the Riott Squad attacked Kyrie after she got eliminated.
They did. I even tweeted at Ruby recently. I'm like, you're gonna bully Kyrie at the Rumble. We all remember this tweet, and I quote tweeted the birdhouse thing back to her. I'm like, we don't forget. But no, like that's the thing. If you're a female performer that I adore, now Kyrie, it's more than just the whole Ronda Rousey cloud, as I've explained. But if you're a female performer that I adore, I'm rooting for you to go to fucking SmackDown.
Or if you're a female performer that you love that's on Raw, you're rooting for Ronda to go to SmackDown.
Exactly. Yeah, one or the other. I mean, goddamn. But yeah, just to keep it moving, Ronda's gonna fucking win, and it's a damn shame, because I actually think it could be a solid match if they just let Ruby do 90% of the work.
I mean, yeah, it really like it comes down to how much Ronda botches like she did at Rumble, because Ronda was an absolute botch machine at Rumble, and nobody called her out for it except for us.
Right. And yeah, and that's the one thing. I mean, Ruby, maybe she's lucky to have Ronda as a dance partner, because everybody will lavish all this praise on Ronda. But then again, that might be bad for her, because then they might be like, well, Ruby was off tonight. It's like, no, that wasn't it at all.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, that's like people like have like weird issues with attributing credit, man. I don't know.
Mark Jones said, I half expect this to be less than 5 minutes. Bro, I hope not. I'm tired of them bitching Ruby the fuck out. Like, if they're at least going to feed her to Ronda, at least give her the goddamn decency of putting on an actual match.
No, yeah, I'm actually with Mark on this. Like, when we get to it, I'll probably set the over-under at like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, somewhere around there as far as how long the match lasts. Just because, like, Ronda ripped through Sarah and Liv without a single issue. And I don't think that they're going to necessarily make Ruby significantly more credible than either one of them, maybe a little.
Yeah. God damn it. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
and honestly, they might even have Ronda squash her even harder just because Ronda's pissed at her.
Yeah, Jesus. I hate everything involving Ronda Rousey. There is no happiness, only death. So yeah,
life is pain to a me seeks Jerry.
Ronda retains. Reality is crooked. Ruby Riott deserves better, and fuck everything.
Yeah, it would be so cool if the entire Riott squad walked out of the show with championship gold.
Dude,
Ruby wins the Raw Women's title, and then Sarah and Liv win the tag titles. That would be so badass. But WWE has done literally nothing to make them credible or indicate in any way that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So frustrating. Anyway, let's move on. We both agree that Ronda's winning. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe versus Kofi Kingston versus the we now know entering 6th Randy Orton in an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. Okay, so we know Orton's entering last. Who do you think is going to start this match out? What 2 guys do you think are going to start?
Oh, we're doing this. Okay, so so we know Orton's entering last. I personally think Hardy and Kofi are going to start this match out. That's kind of my feeling. Hardy and Kofi, and then
I'm guessing it'll be Bryan and Hardy or Bryan and Kofi. Oh, it's a really tough call because here's what I think. I 100% think that either Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles is going to start this match and last till the very end. Now, I we'll get around to my actual prediction as far as who I think is going to win, or if Bryan's going to retain, or if someone else is going to win, or something like that eventually. But for now, just know that I do expect one of those 2 guys to start, and maybe even both of them. We might just start this match with Bryan versus Styles, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I expect one of them to start and last until the very end, and either win or be the last elimination.
You know what? I'll go in with you on that. But I do think, it's funny because when I even said Hardy, Kofi, I was going to have Bryan coming in next. So I think you and I just have the same general idea that those 3 guys are just going to be the beginning there. Personally, I have Joe coming in next. And actually, no, AJ comes in next. So he would be 4th. And then Joe comes in 5th because I don't expect Joe to last that long. And I
agree with you. I think Joe and Orton are going to be the last 2 to enter. It's going to be Joe 5th and then Orton 6th. I'm with you on that for sure. But
yeah,
you know what though? Maybe they won't do that because if they would do that, it would really stack the deck against Bryan, because there would be 3 baby faces in the ring with him by the time Joe comes out, and it would just be a bunch of baby faces trying to eliminate Bryan. It would be almost unrealistic for Bryan to survive 3 guys trying to eliminate him at the same time,
Yeah, but
maybe the 5th spot will go to Jeff, since he's, old and, needs to work less time. And then Joe would be 3rd or 4th. Joe would be 4th. And the first 3 would be Bryan, Styles, and Kofi, since they're the workhorse guys. So yeah, you know what? My official prediction, I'm going to officially predict Bryan and Kofi to start this match. Styles comes out 3rd, then Joe, then Jeff, then Orton. That's my official prediction.
You know what? I'll co-sign onto that. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm not going to, now do we want to go through who's going to get eliminated, or can we just kind of talk about this match, or?
Yeah, let's get into everything. Who do you think is going to get eliminated in what order? Yeah, all that stuff, man.
Okay, all right, yeah, if you want to do all that stuff. Personally, I see Joe getting eliminated first, honestly. They just really, Joe to me, I'm really beginning to understand his place in the company. He's the guy that's going to talk people into the building. He's kind of like the
and then rip the rug out from underneath him.
Exactly. I feel like he's almost like Bray Wyatt in a way, which is funny I mentioned him because we're going to get more into him in a second. Yep. At least on my end. So he's going to talk people into the building, but then he's going to lose. So Joe first, and believe me, it kills me to say it. Hardy next.
Yep.
2. Then
Kofi.
See, who do we got? Joe Hardy.
Because we do have Kofi and Bryan starting, so it would make sense for Kofi to last pretty long, but not to the very end. and get eliminated third after Joe and Hardy get eliminated. So then it would come down to Bryan, Styles, Orton. And for me personally, I would project Orton to get eliminated next, then Styles, and I have Bryan retaining.
See, this is where I struggle because I almost feel like with Kofi's performance, like, would they make him make top 3? Like, if he made top 3, it would still come down to Bryan and Styles. Like, that's the thing. I think you and I, we don't disagree about, like, anything else except who gets bronze or who comes in third place, if you will.
But I don't really care about that, though. Like, that doesn't really, that's not something I even put thought into. It's more like, I feel like Randy Orton's role is the spoiler, like the asshole. Like, he's going to come in and ruin the crowd's day. And then when AJ eliminates him, it's going to get him super over so that when Bryan eliminates him, we hate Bryan more. Like, that's my thought process, is like Orton's going to come in and eliminate the guy that everyone is rooting for, which would be Kofi.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to say that I think Kofi, like Orton's going to be eliminated before Kofi. Kofi, Bryan, and Styles are the final 3. Bryan,
but again, you're setting the odds against the heel champion.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I feel like they already kind of did that on SmackDown with the Gauntlet, having him start the Gauntlet, so that wasn't advantageous to a heel.
That's true.
Like, and he's a smaller guy anyway, and I don't know. I feel like WWE's kind of booking him differently because of that fact. So those heel conventions we're used to, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to apply him to Bryan. So
I feel like we would be so much better off if we just straight up didn't read dirt sheets, because like you've been predicting Bray to come back for how long now? And now there was the rumor apparently over the weekend that Harper was returning on SmackDown. That didn't happen. Now we've got Chris Venegas and Chad being like, oh, what if Harper returns and helps Bryan win? Like, just ignore dirt sheet reports that aren't proven true immediately. Because like, I am so sick of hearing, oh, this guy's going to return soon. And then like 3 months later, it's like, oh, there he is. It's about time. Those dirt sheet reports were really bad 3 months ago.
Well, that's why I'm making the distinctions between my fantasy booking and like reality. Because fantasy, when it comes down to Bryan and Styles, I would have first Rowan try and run interference. Styles is able to negate that. He's got Bryan beat again because he gets a little better each time. You know, first Bryan low blowed him. Then he was on to Bryan's bullshit, was able to win, but he didn't anticipate Rowan. Now he anticipates Rowan, and then we get a returning Harper. I mean, we've seen interference in the Elimination Chamber before in crazy ways. There's definitely a precedent. I'm not putting it past it, at least fantasy booking. Bryan retains, and then as he's celebrating, Bray Wyatt returns. Fast forward to Fastlane, and personally, I would do a Fatal 5-Way with fucking Bray. Excuse me, no. Wait, hold on. Yeah, Bray and 4 guys from the Elimination Chamber: Joe, Hardy, Kofi, and Orton, because I would do AJ Bryan one last time for the WWE title at Fastlane.
And you would have Bryan retain then, so that AJ would get like booted to the back of the line and have a challenge for like the U.S. title or something.
Exactly, or something like that. Exactly. I would have.
Because I don't think AJ's ever held the U.S. title, or has.
He has.
Not U.S., right? Or no, yeah. Wait, which title's on SmackDown? Is it the U.S.?
It is the U.S. You're thinking.
Well, that's R-Truth,
right? Yeah,
that's R-Truth though. So I don't think that we would do AJ versus R-Truth because they're both face.
I don't know what they would do with AJ at Mania, but I want him in the back of the fucking line. And again, this is purely fantasy booking. I want to stress that.
Has AJ ever held the Intercontinental title? I think that's the one that I was thinking of.
No, he hasn't. I think that's one reason why people want him shaken up to Raw, so they can win new championships and do new programs.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, who knows? But yeah, I would have Bray win the 5-Way at Fastlane, and then we get Bray, Bryan at Mania. I think it's a great fucking story. I want them to tell it. I lose faith in it every day. But you know, we'll see what happens. What do I actually see happening? I'm going to keep it simple. Bryan does win, and I will still give the interference, but I think it'll be just more Rowan based. There won't be any Harper.
Yeah, I would expect Rowan to try some shit. I don't even know if he's going to need to, though. Bryan, they might, like the way that they book, especially SmackDown, they always book their champions really strong. And even if they're heel, they almost always have them win clean.
Right. Yeah, so I'm just going to go straight forward. Bryan retains. I don't know what this means for him. I've already been seeing like Fastlane, the card's been changed to him versus Styles versus Joe. So I have no idea how Joe got in there. But I still can't even begin to venture a guess what Bryan is doing at Mania. I have put so many chips down on Bryan. I haven't removed him from the table. But really, ideally, it should be Miz. I don't think it's going to be Miz. We already discussed that. I have no idea what Bryan does at Mania. Really, the SmackDown side of the Mania card is really a big mystery because Becky's already picked Ronda. Seth obviously chose Brock, so Raw's pretty much got their shit figured out.
Yeah, SmackDown's literally just going to be determined over the next 2 pay-per-views, like Chamber and Fastlane, and then like episodes of SmackDown leading up to Mania are going to be where we find out who's going to be challenging for what titles on SmackDown side.
Yeah, yeah. SmackDown is a big question mark, which could be really good or really bad.
Or a total disaster.
Exactly, depending on what hand you play. Again, I would love the Bray angle. There is such a fucking story there. But I never count on WWE to give us the story. They just give us something more immediate and easier to do and this and that. So in the meantime, Bryan's going to retain. AJ fucking Allen's going to be on his bullshit. Oh, I need to rescue the WWE title because it doesn't look like that. You know, where's the leather strap? Shut up, Allen. It's 2019. And hopefully it goes to the back of the line after fucking Fastlane because I really am starting to just, it's getting on my last nerve. AJ and these WWE.
How hilarious would it be, though, if WWE was just like, you know what, guys? We only have a few more months to treat SmackDown like the B show because then the Fox deal is going to kick in and we're going to have to start actually trying. Let's put the WWE champion in a fucking tag team match at WrestleMania, and they do Bryan and Rowan versus Harper and Bray.
My rage, dude. Rage. Because that's the thing. Another reason why, and everybody knows this, like why I've been pining for Bryan so goddamn bad. We know those two can have a great fucking match together based on their Rumble match a few years ago. Like Bryan works great with a guy that has like Bray's like, you know, build.
Dude, I'm going to just stop you right there. Bryan works great with fucking anybody.
That's true. That's the benefit of having him as champion. Like, give me a fucking... And really, here's the thing, too. I don't care what anybody says. And again, this is still purely in the fantasy realm, and I acknowledge that. Bray's fan base fucking deserves this, okay? Because he got a shit deal at WrestleMania, what was it, last year when he dropped the title to Orton?
By the way, you know what? I just thought of something. The last time we saw Bray, he was on Raw. Why would he show up on SmackDown?
I know. People have asked me that too. I don't know. I don't even know what the written reason would be. He's been.
I mean, at least Harper makes sense. Harper makes sense because he was on SmackDown, but Bray,
right. I mean, dude, can you imagine if it was fucking Harper versus Bryan at Mania? Jesus,
I would love that. That would be amazing, especially if it was because of his like he's got a problem with Bryan befriending Rowan and quote unquote brainwashing. Like that would be cool as hell. I would love.
I mean, hell, look, if it's not gonna be Bray and it's not gonna be Miz, I want SmackDown to be wild if this card is a question mark. But again, I think I'm taking the train off the tracks. For now, we'll just keep it to Bryan retains, and whatever you're doing for Mania SmackDown, I hope you got it figured out because all eyes are on you. I'm paying more attention to them than Raw. We know what we're doing with Raw, and it's good. It's good.
Dude, they're gonna do fucking Asuka versus Lacey Evans. You watch.
Jesus. Oh my God, SmackDown! You could really make a big move here. Come on, give us something.
It's funny because they called 2 women up recently, and one of them would be a good choice for a Mania match, and the other one would be a fucking disaster, and that's the one that they're more likely to go with.
I mean, hell, Foster just mentioned fucking Mustafa. What a great story it would be. The guy that pinned the champion probably would have pinned the champion again in the gauntlet. We've even said, like, the booking Kofi caught was meant for Mustafa. Comes back from injury. He faces Bryan at Mania. Like, I think you do have a lot of good
Bryan versus Rey Mysterio.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, you have so many good choices, but you'd make a shit one. And I think Rey would be a shit choice because I'm actually enjoying the story with Andrade.
I will say though, having dropped the U.S. title, I wonder if that opens Nakamura up for a potential face turn to challenge Bryan, since that's been the match that he's wanted since he got to WWE.
Well, one of these motherfuckers needs to save the SmackDown main event at Mania by telling Vince they're going to AEW and pimping that shit out. Like, Vince, I'm leaving. Wait, no, I'll give you anything. Anything. And then we get a nice, solid WWE title match at Mania, because I don't know what the fuck they're going to do. Like, because see, here's what scares me, dude. And the only reason I'm making a big stink about this is because I've loved Bryan as champion. I don't want his reign to end on such a sour fucking note. Because I right now, and that can always change, I don't see him retaining at Mania. But that aside, he's been a great fucking champion. You have pretty much given the soundbite for his title reign. The dude, because he's smaller and because of his stature, it's believable that anybody can beat him, which has been great for the likes of Mustafa and Kofi and others, and it's fucking awesome. You know, I want them to continue that trajectory. Give us something different, and I just feel like they are going to fuck it up somehow. It's such a question mark. I feel like they're just going to be like, oh, well, Bryan's going to do this. Now, again, the people that I would love, Miz.
I know how they're going to do it. I'll tell you how they could screw it up. And it would be like halfway giving us what we want and halfway like, what the fuck are you doing at the same time? Bryan versus Miz versus Shane triple threat for the title.
Oh my God. Oh my God. But see, you know what though, dude? I'll actually even say that's better than what my fear is, because bringing it back around, and I almost forgot what I want to say, but now I remember what my fear was. If they do the triple threat at fucking Fastlane, are they going to do some shit at Fastlane where Allen's going to be able to go, all right, Bryan, I've had it up to here with your shenanigans. You and me one more time at Mania. If we do AJ Bryan again at Mania, I know AJ's saving grace with a lot of people is his amazing in-ring work, and I won't deny it. The dude, pun totally intended, is phenomenal. But I am tired, y'all. I am tired. I want a new story. I want a new contender. I really... Fastlane's got me apprehensive as fuck, and I know we're not even there yet because we still have to do Chamber on Sunday. I'm not trying to put the
I feel like Fastlane is always just a garbage pay-per-view, though.
Yeah, it scares the fuck out of me, dude. Like it did, because again, Raw's got their shit figured out. Like they ain't gonna be fucking with anything on their side at Fastlane. SmackDown needs this because they haven't put anything together yet. So Fastlane, Chamber, and Fastlane are really gonna determine the SmackDown card, and it's just got me mortified. Because I'm like, oh my God, what are you going to do? But Bryan will retain here, and I guess we'll just venture out into that open horizon together. And God have mercy on us all.
All right, well, man, we had one hell of a conversation there. It was longer than I expected it to be, and this next one I expect to be long, and I guess we'll see. But we've got our women's tag team elimination chamber match for the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The way I said it like that is because there were WWF Women's Tag Team titles, but there have never been WWE Women's Tag Team titles. So that's where you get the little wordplay going on there with the specifics and the semantics. So we've got the Boston Hug Connection versus Fire and Desire to start this thing off. Sasha, Bailey, Sonya, and Mandy. And then in pods will be the Samoan Slaughterhouse, Nia, Jax, and Tamina. The Riott Squad, Liv and Sarah. Fabulous Glow, Carmella and Naomi. And the IIconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Now, John, I got to be straight with you, man. Earlier on today, I was really waffling on this, and I ended up landing at a conclusion that I'm not excited about. But it's one of those things where like every possible option that I could get excited about seems extremely unlike WWE to do. And my pick is also based on trying to avoid being hypocritical myself.
Fair enough. I can respect that. So where's your head at?
Boston Hug Connection to win.
Okay.
I don't like it. I want them to win the titles at WrestleMania, but how many times do we have a tournament to crown a first ever champion and you go all in, this top heel's got to win it because there's more money in the heel as a champion and the babyface is chasing, and then WWE's just like, no, and they give it to the babyface.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you hold that mirror up to me, and this is really my chance to redeem myself, to reflect.
Well, I'm not even done because
no. Keep going.
You know, I want really badly for the WWE to think ahead and be like, okay, let's put the titles on a really good heel team and have the Boston Hug Connection chase those titles and then win them at WrestleMania. And that would be like a great big crowning moment for Sasha and Bailey. But I also have to bring up, how often does the WWE blow their load early with stuff like this? We got the Shield triple threat at a fucking battleground. We got the Usos winning the tag titles off the New Age Outlaws like a month before WrestleMania a few years ago. Like the WWE loves to blow their load early. And I think that they're going to do that here. I think they're just going to have the Boston Hug Connection win the titles here. Just boom off the bat. And you know what? As much as I hate to say it, and I really hope it doesn't happen, it wouldn't even surprise me if we got Boston Hug versus Lita and Trish at Mania. And that would piss me off because you'd be robbing a spot from another talented women's tag team.
The Sky Pirates.
What'd you say?
I said Sky Pirates when you said talented women's team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I doubt they would give it to them, but even if it was the Riott Squad, it would be better than Trish and Lita because they're gonna be here tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just going straight with it. Boston Hug connection at Chamber, and then you're tentatively not tentatively, but bemoaningly at Mania thinking, yeah, it might just be Trish and Lita because it's the WWE way. Yeah, all right. And it's funny that you held the mirror up at me and kind of talked about like how I do these things. Oh, a heel's definitely going to win it. A heel's going to establish the precedent. And you know what makes somebody reflective? And I have the chance to change all that behavior, to break the cycle, to go differently right here, right now. And
nope.
I think I'm actually going to do that.
Oh, what?
Because here's the thing. Here's what, and again, I said I was going to do a lot of fantasy talk. I gave you guys that warning. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. Ideally, dude, I'm not going to lie. I would have Riott Squad win this. Yeah. I would. I love them. I think they're great.
So in your fantasy card, you're having both Ruby and Liv and Sarah all win their gold. So that it's like that fantasy scenario that even I kind of bought into. How cool that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even go one step further. If somebody was like, come on, John, is Riott Squad really a team to have a clean sweep? I'll concede that. I would then go with your other idea, and I think you mentioned this to me again in Rocket League, where Ruby loses earlier in the night, but then she ends up taking the Chamber spot, and that's the difference, because Boston Hug didn't game plan for Ruby. They game planned for Liv and Sarah. And maybe that would even sow some seeds if they want to do long-term booking with Riott Squad. I don't know. Honestly, right now, I don't care. I would just have them win, and it would be, again, setting the babyfaces on the chase. However, I'd like to consider myself an intelligent guy. And every time I've said this shit that a heel could really establish the precedent, it never fucking happens. Ever. So I don't really see why it would happen here. I do think it would be cool for it to happen here because, the Boston Hug story is really a beautiful one and it's kind of won me over. And, if we're going to commit, fully commit. But, you're right. WWE loves blowing their load. And honestly, dude, and this is where, I'm going to come back to reality now, but it's going to be very cynically. I would 100% prefer Boston Hug as just the babyface formula conforming to itself than me being right and heels win, but, it's Samoan Slaughterhouse.
But, dude, and that's the thing, too, that I wanted to bring up from earlier. I'm not picking Samoan Slaughterhouse to win partially because of the fact that I think Nia is going to be challenging Finn at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. I don't think that they're going to have the women's tag team champions have one half of them just go and challenge a dude for a singles title while they're champions. That makes no sense. So I think that if Nia and Tamina do win the titles, which I'm not saying is not a possibility, but if they do, I will cheer and celebrate because it means Finn Balor gets an actual decent WrestleMania opponent, hopefully.
Yeah, here's my thing, dude. That's an amazing counterpoint that you present as far as, why be happy about it. I am the exact, I am filled with dread. Because here's the thing. If I was right, and I'm not wrong with anything I'm about to say, the universe is a dick to TWitWoW historically. And if they wanted to give me that win, John, would you like to be right about something? Really? Yeah. Heel's finally going to win an inaugural title. Oh my God. Yeah, it's just going to be Samoan Slaughterhouse. Oh, that's something. And then I just pack my bag, and then it's like, where are you moving to, bud? Oh, well, see, I was just going to drive my car slowly into the ocean until it's fully immersed, and then the bubbles stop. I want this on the record. I hate Nia Jax so fucking much. I am hoping that they keep the formula because she really is. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, guys. They are the most credible heel team. Riott Squad is great, and they've picked up a little bit of momentum, but that's only for pay-per-view's sake in my mind. It's not a long-term thing. Yeah. IIconics, dude, I love IIconics.
Dude, I want the IIconics to win this. So, if we were doing who we want to win, IIconics are so far in the lead as far as my number one team that I want to win this so much.
Oh, dude, agreed. So I don't want anybody to get mad at me when I say they're a joke. Like, I love them, but their booking is ridiculous. Like, no, I can't buy it. Even though
Dude, I don't even
them,
care that they're not quote unquote believable as champs. If they cheat their way to the win, I'm still ecstatic because they won the titles. Like there is no team in this match that you can say deserves to win more than the IIconics.
I mean, again, I adore them. It's just not, like it's just been so bad. Now, if they would start, the rehabilitation, great. I just don't see it. Fire and Desire was actually a team that I was genuinely fearing, and this, but I'm starting to kind of put my foot like off the gas of that a little bit.
Yeah, Naomi's gonna pin Mandy, and that'll be the end of that team.
Right. Hopefully, because, dude, I swear if Fire and Desire actually do win this, when my gut actually brought me to the point of tweeting that I thought they were going to win, I'm going to kick myself because I could have been right, and I still think this team is better than Samoan Slaughterhouse. I said it. I've spoken into the universe. But no. And then what's the other heel team? I think I covered them all. So, yeah, Samoan Slaughterhouse, to me, of that bunch, is the most credible heel team, and I'd rather die. Like, I hope they adhere to the formula, because Boss and Hug, I love Sasha. I love Bayley. I think Bayley's been making a turnaround as of late. And she's starting to get her fanfare back, which she fucking deserves, because God knows they did a freaking number on her. And yeah, honestly, because I can't envision a path for them for Mania, I'll co-sign onto you. WWE will dredge back up the legends. It's either going to be Trish and Lita or the fucking Bella Twins. It's not going to be like tag teams that they're bringing up. It's sure as fuck not going to be Sky Pirates, which pisses me off to no end. It's gonna be.
Yeah, I was really even thinking like maybe Boss Pirates. I know that's a thing, but Sky Pirates debut on the post WrestleMania Raw or SmackDown. Hopefully SmackDown, but also possibly Raw. We'll see. And challenge for the tag titles, whoever has them at that point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with you, and it's not even just because John's been wrong so many times. Like, you got to see the light eventually, right? It's also because I can't bear the thought of the alternative. Because even the heel teams that I would like, WWE doesn't like them as much as I do. And
that's really sad, man.
Yeah, and then that's going to be my soundbite. The heel teams that I like, WWE does not like them as much as I do. I think they like Samoan Slaughterhouse. For some reason, they still like Nia Jax. And I cannot.
They like her because she's a heat machine, brother.
I know live reactions are just like audio, and like we don't give them visuals, but I'm just gonna let people know that I will fucking surrender Cobra my ass off if fucking Samoan Slaughterhouse win those tag titles, and I'm just gonna wonder what the point of any of this fucking is. And the only silver lining would be then that Boss and Hug would gain them at Mania, and I would just have to grit and bear it. So yeah, I'm gonna.
WrestleMania comes and it's Samoan Slaughterhouse versus Boss and Hug Connection, and Samoan Slaughterhouse still retains.
Dude, and then here's the thing, because at that point, if that happens, I'm like that woman from my favorite anti-drug PSA, that meth sing along, and I'm just kind of like tearing at my own skin and looking around like, why does the world hate me? And my only silver lining is, well, maybe Sasha will get so fed up she'll turn on Bayley, and that won't fucking happen. Because that's the only thing I would.
Yeah, dude, we've actually heard some people say like that they think that Bayley and Sasha are going to split up either during or after this match. Like, this is going to be like the breaking point for them.
Yeah, and see, if Samoan Slaughterhouse, and I can't believe I'm about to speak this into the universe, were to retain the women's tag titles at WrestleMania, God, I want to die. The only saving grace to that really would be that we'd get back on track. But dude, honestly, now, and
you know what? That's the thing too, is that someone earlier, Katie Lorenko, said something about how the Boss and Hug deserve to win more than the IIconics. That's like saying like a thrown together tag team like the Bar, who have maybe been together for a while but aren't really seen as like a tag team, as more just two singles people that deserve more, deserve to win tag titles over like the Usos. Like, that just makes no sense to me. The IIconics are an actual real tag team, and frankly, they're the only real tag team in this match, if you ask me. Because like the Riott Squad are the next closest thing, and they're 2/3 of a faction. They're not a tag team. Like, they're not necessarily and even then, going back to NXT, they were all singles. So, the further back you go, the more you realize that the IIconics are the only real tag team in this match. Samoa and Slaughterhouse have been around for, like a month or two. Boss and Hug have been around for less than a year. Riot Squad have been together for a little over a year. Fabulous Glow have been together for like a month. And then Fire and Desire have just been together again, a little over a year since they got called up because they were not together in NXT. The IIconics have literally been together for years, and they are the only actual tag team in this match. Like, if you're going to have first ever tag team champions in a division, I would certainly hope that you would want to put them on a tag team that has been an established tag team for longer than like 14 months, which is about how long, Absolution and the Riot Squad have been together.
Yeah, dude. No, everything you're saying makes perfect sense to me because we saw these women fucking kill it in NXT. I always feel like the IIconics have deserved more than what they've gotten. I love them. I love their story. I love their passion. I think they're often overlooked because, Bayley and Sasha make friendship look so cute, and they do. Like, it's fucking adorable. I won't deny
Yeah,
that.
like to me, Sasha and Bayley are like the two-man power trip equivalent for the women's tag team division because they, like Sasha and Bayley as individuals, both should be main eventing and winning singles titles, not fucking tagging it up and just trying to cope with Ronda Rousey hogging up all the spotlight.
And see, that's something too, just to kind of drive the point home of what I was talking about earlier with like the possibilities for the women's tag titles between now and Mania. If we would live in the darkest timeline, to return to your point, and Samoa and Slaughterhouse would not only win here, but they would retain at Mania, and they would just go on a monster run as the first ever tag champions in WWE's mind to really establish them as legitimate and whatever. And we even would get like Sasha being like, well, fuck this. And she turns on Bayley. To me, that would ring so fucking hollow because they've been jerking these women around forever.
Yeah.
Like to me, honestly, dude, I was even going to ask.
Whatever happened to Bayley beating down Sasha and saying, you ain't shit, bitch?
I wanted that Bayley so bad.
That's what I'm saying is like they've been a tag team for a while now, but it's so forced and unnatural. And they are always, and I will stand by this forever, Sasha Banks and Bayley will always be better opponents than partners.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. Like, if you were to seriously spit in our faces, and again, this is just, my perspective, and say, oh yeah, Slaughterhouse, they're going to be dominant tag champions, but now you get the Sasha heel turn. Like, that shouldn't be a consolation prize. That should be the main fucking story. And
yeah,
like, it should,
exactly.
Yeah. It should be one of the cornerstone things that you build your division around is this rivalry. So
yeah, like call me utopian, but I don't think Sasha and Bayley, quote unquote, deserve the women's tag titles because I frankly think they deserve better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I really didn't even want to see them team to begin with. And again, they won me over, and I do dig it. But in the back of my mind, I'm always gonna remember the first ever fucking Takeover Brooklyn and how they stole the fucking show. And I know.
And that show was really special for us too, because we were saying literally going into that show, Sasha and Bayley, especially if Bayley is winning, need to main event this show. And they ended up, NXT, after the show was over, realized like, well, shit, we fucked up not having the main event, because then Balor versus Owens ended up being a completely pointless, heatless match where the championship was retained that nobody cared about. The women's title should have main evented that. And then the NXT was just like, well, we fucked up then, let's make up for it on the next show. And then on the next show, Respect, they had their 30-minute Iron Man match, but the NXT title wasn't even defended, so it made it feel like a consolation prize anyway. It was so bad.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. The women, I know, they've been trying their best to make these tag titles mean something, and like I'm here for it in a way. It's just, I know you can't get everything you want, but I mean that's why we're on this show, right? To talk about both what's happening and what we would like to see happen. That's why we have this space, and what I would like to see happen is just to see Sasha and Bayley do what they were meant to do and kill each other. Like, it's a fun tag team. I like it. I'm into it. But in the back of my mind, again, I'm always going to be saying, man, they'd make great opponents for this SummerSlam card or this Mania card or whatever, because these women should be big event players, main event players, especially with this groundwork that fucking Becky's laying and Ronda's being Ronda about. I would like to see when all of that kind of dissipates, other women to benefit. And at the top of that heap really should be Sasha and Bayley, but they're going to be busy, legitimizing this tag division. So, I hope you're right, and I hope they win. I hate the thought of Samoa and Slaughterhouse being the first champions, and there's good reason, though, historically, to be calm that they won't be. But you never know with WWE. Things change on a dime, and I just only hope that Boss and Hug win. In fact, I'll even say this. I will go Boss and Hug with you, but I will also just put as a backup that my second team to win it, if not them, I really even have to leave to Samoa and Slaughterhouse, and then Fire and Desire would come in third. Those are like my top three teams.
I would, you know what? I think if we're talking just trying to be realistic and expectations, I would agree with you, except I would probably swap out Fire and Desire for the Riott Squad.
Okay, that's fair.
And then that's specifically because I think that there's a chance that this match main events, and if Ruby were, I guess I should say really when Ruby loses to Ronda, it might piss her off enough that she would want to get in on this action and replace one of the two other girls, and it would be Ruby and either Sarah or Liv going in there. And I think that there's like an X factor there that Ruby might be like the big deal that might make the difference. So
yeah,
why I would put them in third. But it's clearly like, it's so funny though, because all three of the teams that are on my top three most likely to win are Raw teams. Like this feels so much more like a Raw championship than anything, even though it's meant to be defended between brands. I feel like 75 to 80% of the appearances, matches and championship defenses of the Raw of the women's tag titles are going to happen on Raw.
Yeah, dude, the only thing that I can think of, too, because I keep thinking about how NXT is getting screwed, I wonder if, because they're doing tag teams on NXT, if women will start being called up together, kind of introduce them in the tag division. So, like, when Kyrie gets called up, right, I wonder if her and Io would get called up at the same time to fucking legitimize the tag division, or if they would kind of space it out. I don't know. It just pisses, and I'm still salty about that, since we're talking about the tag titles. I'm still salty that we can't even talk about if we're going to get Boss and Hug connection. Give me the one tag match that would actually fucking matter with them being together, and that's Boss and Hug. Again, my opinion, versus Sky Pirates. I want that fucking match, and it really pisses me off.
You know what? The reason that I don't think it's ever going to happen, though, is because it would just be baby faces versus baby faces.
True. But, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it'd be really fucking cool. And just the idea, again, that not only are you going to have Boss and Hug still as this tag team, but then, again, you've got to, and see, that's my thing. I know people are saying like, oh, they deserve it and the belts are made for them. And I'm sure there's like an argument that could be made there. I will recognize that. But like, here's my thing. And my retort to all that is what comes after. It kind of reminds me, I forget the name of the film. I think it was the Mrs. Robinson film. But like at the very end, when the daughter flees the wedding and the parents are freaking out because she goes with the guy that they didn't want him to be with. And they're like, so exalted that they did something so crazy, and then the camera just rests on them, and when the adrenaline just dies off, their faces just look at each other like, oh shit, what did we do? And that's kind of a similar thing. Like, you can have all the joy and just the exuberance, like, yeah, Boss and Hug are the tag champions, but what comes after? Because if you're seriously telling me that the Planet Mania would be them against Trish and Lita, who are the real best friends, or even worse, in my opinion, my own nightmarish projection of the fucking Bella Twins, is that really the tag title reign we wanted for them?
That is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for speaking into the universe.
And by the way, I did want to address, again, Katie Lorenko. She basically said Sasha and Bayley are a lot more talented than Peyton and Billy. I think that's, frankly, a little bit more up for debate than people realize. Because, like, out of those four women, Sasha is far and away the most talented. But I think you could argue that Peyton is second behind her. And then Bayley and Billy is a toss-up, because as great as Bayley is in the ring, she is god-awful on the mic, and Billy is exceptional on the mic, and especially when it comes to like improv comedy style promos. And Billy's not terrible in the ring. Like, I would say Billy is better in the ring than Bayley is on the mic. Would you agree with that, John?
I would agree with that. I do think.
But then the question becomes like, how much better than Billy is Bayley in the ring? Because I think Bayley is like top 5 to 10 in-ring workers among the women in WWE. But Billy, I don't think Billy's like bottom 5 by any means. Like she's maybe a nudge below average, but she's not bad by any means. And
right.
I mean, Peyton, I think Peyton is a better talker than Bayley and a better worker than Billy. And I think she's closer to Bayley in the ring than she is to Billy. And I think she's closer to Billy on the mic than she is to Bayley. So I would put Peyton in second out of those 4 women as far as just pure talent goes.
Yeah, no, I totally, I'm seeing eye level with you on that. And, you know, that's my thing. I mean, Mark Shinneman said that's the point of all face title wins. They win, and then eventually you move on. Yeah, but moving on doesn't have to be such a discomforting process, though. Like,
and Mark even said, like, in the ring is far more important. That's subjective, though. Like, you can't, I don't know. You can't just say, like, being good in the ring is more important than being able to talk and connect with the crowd. Like, admittedly, Bayley used to have a really great connection with the NXT crowd, but she doesn't have as intense of a connection with the main roster crowd as she used to. You know, like, I don't know. It's and especially like when she talks, like Bayley on the mic is a disaster. And I love Bayley and I want her to succeed. And I think she puts on really great matches. And she is one of the most convincing babyface women that they have. But on the mic, she is awful. And I wish she wasn't. I want her to be better on the mic, but she just is bad.
I don't know, man. I don't have a good feeling about this first reign, you know, even if they do win, because again, like, what quality people, because I agree with you about Sasha still being like one of the elite wrestlers in this fucking division.
Yeah, like to me, if we were rating wrestlers, women's wrestlers on like overall quality, I think Sasha is like either the best or the second best behind Becky in the main roster's women roster, like the whole thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. And really just to finish that point, I was going to say that, you know, Sasha's so amazing and you're really going to use her talents to pull something decent out of a fucking Trish Stratus, Alita, or God forbid, one of the Bellas.
Oh God,
I'm not in, you know, I'm not feeling it. And dude, you can't tell me that it's not even possible that the belt wasn't fucking.
I'm not. No, that's why I'm groaning because it's such a WWE move.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, guys. Like, if you're not going to involve NXT, which again, I'll say it again here, just in case anybody missed it, because I think I said it on Smackdown live reactions. If I'm being perfectly candid, I don't care about these tag titles nearly as much as I did upon the revelation, and I do thank Mark Schoeneman for dispelling my ignorance. But when he told us that NXT wasn't going to be involved, my interest dipped considerably in these.
Yeah,
and
you and I both were really hoping that the Sky Pirates and then maybe even possibly Duke and Shafir would be involved in this, because I mean, if you were going to have 6 teams involved, you do 2 from Raw, 2 from SmackDown, 2 from NXT, or you could have done it by like the number of television hours, since that usually is kind of correlated to the roster size. Do 3 from Raw, 2 from SmackDown, 1 from NXT, and then they could have had the Sky Pirates versus Duke and Shafir match from the post Takeover Phoenix episode of NXT before that spot where Sky Pirates won, so they would have gotten in. Like, that would have made so much more sense. And yeah, it would be really, really easy to replace Fabulous Glow, as much as I love both the girls there, with the Sky Pirates, because Fabulous Glow has been around for a month and was clearly only created because they didn't have enough women's tag teams to fit into this match.
Right. Whereas, you know, Kairi and Io, which is a story you could tell, you know, if the commentary was on point, have such a rich history together. And like, you know, you could really tell that story, but it doesn't even matter because they're not in the conversation at all. And with them not being in and it's not just them, they're a big part of it. I will never lie about that. But just the idea that you're including NXT altogether, which I think their involvement made it such a revolutionary concept, because too, at least for the women's division, if you were kind of testing to see, oh, can we call this woman up? Put them in a tag team that's logical and coherent. Get them on a fucking card. See how the crowd reacts to them. I thought it would have been a great way too to test the waters for some of the women. How is Io getting over with a main crowd, or Kairi, which we've already kind of seen with the women?
Well, and I think that's kind of the problem for me with this women's tag division in the first place, is that it feels like, to me, it feels like this was something that Sasha and Bayley pushed for because of Ronda Rousey. Because they knew that as long as Ronda Rousey was around, there was only ever going to be one woman to be highlighted in a main event fashion at any given time. And they agree with us that that's unfair as hell.
Yeah.
And that they wanted more opportunities to be highlighted. So they thought that this was the solution. And they pushed and pushed and pushed. And now they're getting it. But now my problem is the WWE is going to use this as an opportunity to completely relegate almost every woman on the roster. And like it's like doubling down on like, oh, well, now we really don't need to push any more than one women's feud at a time as far as the Raw women's title goes.
Yeah. And you know, that is the one positive, is that it does get more women involved in something that, you know, is outside of Ronda's orbit, which is so fucking massive. It's just, I want there to be steam to this concept, and I think you lost so much of it when you're like, nah, NXT, you can't be a part of this, because I can only imagine the kind of reign that Boss and Hug are going to have. And really another thing is, too, and I don't even know why I didn't mention this with all that talk, part of being a champion, you know, you got to lose the titles eventually. What team is really going to be credible to beat two women that really are upper tier? Like, when they lose those titles, it better be to some team believable. Maybe it would just be Samoa and Slaughterhouse. I don't know.
I mean, dude, like, and that's the thing too, is like, we don't know. Like, maybe they'll hold those titles until next WrestleMania. We don't know. That gives, like, the WWE has plenty of time to decide how long they want Boss and Hug to hold the titles and who they want to drop them to, and then they have time to build that team up.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess a lot of questions are going to be answered on Sunday. I will say, given this conversation, I'd say my hype is actually still the same. This is one of those rare times that my hype didn't like go down or up. It's just kind of staying exactly where it is. I'm still solidly at a 7 out of 10. And I hope this main event kills. And again, I do agree. I'm going to change course. I do agree with your prediction of Boss and Hug connection. I hope it's a good reign for them, but I know you and I think that they could be doing better things and definitely different things than this. And I don't really think did we even predict any title changes on this show? I don't think we. Oh, well, Finn Balor.
Yeah, Balor winning the IC title is the big one.
Yeah, that's the big title change.
That's the and the Usos. The Usos winning the tag
title.
Oh
yeah, Usos winning the tag title. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think. I guess for like the main titles and stuff, and the titles that like WWE's making a big production about, I think they're just going to stay. Right,
I think we agreed on every match though, didn't we? Because we agreed that Murphy would win. We agreed that Corbin would win. We agreed that Balor would win by pinning Lio Rush. We agreed on the Usos. We agreed on Ronda. We agreed on Bryan retaining, and we agreed on the Boss and Hug connection. This is the first time I think ever that we've been completely unanimous across the board for a show, and we're going to get every single one wrong.
Yeah. We'll see, man. But yeah, very interesting that we actually agreed on everything, and yet we still got substantive discussions in there to come around to the point with, well, we agree with each other. That's what matters. So yeah, I had a good time with this. Really cool to hear the varied opinions in the live chat. You guys were very passionate, especially about the women's tag titles. That's very cool. It shows a lot of excitement for them. I hope that excitement translates to live reactions on Sunday, beginning at 7 p.m. for Elimination Chamber. I want to thank everybody who came out. We still have 16 people watching and 30 likes. So if you haven't by any chance liked the video already, please do so. We would greatly appreciate it. Love when you guys are vocal and fiery and all that stuff. Always makes for good content. And hopefully, again, we see you Sunday at 7. And until then, I'm going to hand it over to Ashton and take us home.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you did enjoy this commentary. We would appreciate it if you would like the video, show some of that love if you did, like John said. Of course, we would love to know what your predictions are for this show, so go ahead and leave those in a comment once this video gets finished processing down below. And also, of course, subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon to join the notification squad. We would also appreciate it if you would follow us both on Twitter, like our Facebook, buy our merch on Teespring, and donate to the Patreon. As far as the Patreon goes, you normally have 3 questions per month that you can ask us for Q&A. If you donate anything at all, even $1 to the Patreon, that gives you an extra 2 questions, so you get boosted up to 5 for the following month. And that also grants you a vote, so you get the ability to contribute and to really help to determine what John and I will be live reacting to the following month based on our Patreon donations. And then if you get up to $3 a month, you will get into the official Patreon Discord, which is a really fun little community where we have all kinds of discussions. And that's kind of where we get to discuss stuff like Raw and NXT on days that we don't live react to it or review it and stuff like that. All that fun stuff. So, yes, Patreon is a great way to support the channel. But if you don't have the money, you don't really want to spend $1 or $3 or however much on something that you don't get an instant material return for, then we would still appreciate it very much if you would choose to support us in the free way, which is just by sharing this channel and this video with all of your wrestling fan friends and letting them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube wrestling community. That's right. We are TWitWoW, and we are the workhorses of the YWC. And this has been a little bit of a slower month for us. We're still averaging like 3 or 4 commentaries a week. And this was our 4th commentary this week. But this coming Sunday, we will be live reacting to Elimination Chamber. And then I believe next week is our first week back since before TakeOver Phoenix, reviewing NXT. Plus, we've also got our Smackdown live reaction to do on Tuesday. That being said, though, even though this has been a slower month, we still have TWitWoW Mania right around the corner. It's in like a month and a half, and we've got like basically 3 straight weeks with like no breaks, just commentaries, and sometimes even multiple commentaries coming at you guys every single day at the beginning of April. Like the first 3 weeks of April are just absolutely loaded, stacked beyond all belief. I'm excited to get to that. But until then, we do hope that you all enjoyed this, and we hope that you stick around, because on Sunday we will be live reacting to WrestleMania. Or Jesus Christ, right? That's TWitWoW Mania. We will be live reacting to Elimination Chamber, though. So we will see you guys there. But of course, in order for that to happen, you're going to have to remember to stay tuned.